Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Golden Feather. Grab a pint, a plate, and pick your seat, for your hosts, Beertech and Chibi Bree, have returned from another glorious adventure. Please stay a while and listen.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Golden Feather. Today, we're on episode 130, today being the 15th of July, 2022. And Ash is me, Matt, the Matician, with me, Matt. And how are you today, Sir me, Matt?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Wunderbar. Wonderful,
doing pretty well.
A little German. It's my favorite German word.
I remember a little bit. Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? It's like, I like this band that plays at a lot of Ren fairs. And they always go off saying Wohlgemut, which is what like a state of being happy and excited or something. I forget what it was. I got to go back and watch another video of theirs. I feel like a bad fan.
It's been a hot minute since I've done the German.
Yeah,
but.
same. So on the other side of the table here, we have the lovely Chibi Bree.
Hello.
How are you?
I am doing well. And Captain Redbeard wants you to, I think it's you, says the beard is coming in, let it grow.
Little bit. The one on that side might have a little something to say about that. She might resist a little bit.
Yeah.
And between the two of you, I mean, you're cute and all too, Redbeard, but between the two of you, she might win the battle.
But yeah, we have a lot of interesting stuff to leaving that one alone. We have a lot of interesting stuff to cover, and there's gonna be just interesting topics besides that one.
All the hearts and stuff. Oh, feel so loved. Or are you just using me for the beard? That's what it is. I know it. But anyway, before we get too far off topic and start breaking hearts, me, Matt, for those who have not met you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So Ashes of Creation. Oh my goodness. Content creator on YouTube. That's what I'm doing right now. I think I created the account last October. Maybe it was like a couple Octobers ago. I don't know. But really looking forward to the game, really looking forward to the potential that this has to be like more than just an amazing MMO, but like the next like big bang MMO out there. So that's me as far as Ashes. Just personally, just an easygoing guy. Really enjoy the outdoors. We just moved. My girlfriend and I moved up to the Pacific Northwest. So been out here searching for Sasquatch. Haven't found him yet, but I am very hopeful. But
One day.
Oh yeah. I know where to go. It's just the forest is thick up here. It's a lot thicker than I anticipated.
Yeah.
I'd imagine. So, you say you make content over on the YouTube. Now, I do recall bumping into it a little while ago. I think the first video I saw was in reference to clerics. And you're going through how the different cleric flavors might feel and what they might do. And I was curious, are you looking to do more of those? Because I don't recall seeing in your video list any other classes.
I've done tanks. I did a couple on tanks just because we knew a little bit more, and those kind of support roles, there's a little bit more nuanced like flavor that's already established as far as like actual gameplay. So you can kind of theory craft and think of some ideas behind that. As more information comes out as far as the primary archetype kits, I definitely plan on doing more. This week I've been really designing a bunch of just class fantasy videos. So that's what I'm going to be returning to now that my job has been squared away. So next week, just kind of plugging it here first, get ready for some more class fantasy content from me.
Nice.
But I really am proud of that video, the cleric ones. There's a lot more theory crafting and flavor that I don't think a lot of people have really put into kind of going the extra steps. Me as an individual, this is just how my brain works. I'm always thinking like 12 steps ahead. That's why chess was always, when I was growing up, I was always pretty good at chess without actually knowing any of the openings and like learning all those things. It just came naturally for me. But that's why I'm so hopeful for Ashes of Creation, is because I see the foundation for the systems that they're building, like the node systems, the castle sieges, everything for like the future of what MMOs can be, especially calling back to their original tabletop, like Dungeons and Dragons, like influence. The potential for what they're building is something that I see as being very special. And that was the big hook for me, was watching the Lazy Peon video and just kind of looking at that chart for the classes, and just seeing how you can apply just a very simple, like arithmetic type of augment system to that to really build different flavors, build like actually different play styles within the archetypes, and you don't need completely new trees for that. And I just thought that has the potential for something very ingenious. Like it's got me very, very hyped.
Same. I'm excited to see how the different tank flavors play out specifically. I love me some tank, and being able to vary it to such a degree but still have kind of the same base feel is really interesting to me. I'd like to see. Normally I bounce between a bunch of different classes of tank, and they all obviously have their different feel because they're literally a different like formation of class, and the basis of how they function is from the ground up built differently. But I'm curious to see how the augment system works to change that.
Yeah,
lot of potential.
Absolutely. So what do you think, purely throwing feathers in the wind, so to say, but what do you think is going to be your most fun class to theory craft out as we get closer to any kind of an Alpha 2 launch where we see stuff and actually get to play it? What do you think is going to be your favorite to theory craft with just the information given without playing?
For sure, the summoner. And not just the summoner, like the archetype and all the classes within the summoner, but the summoner augments. So when you apply those summoner augments to the other classes, there's a lot that they can do to make those augments feel completely different than the rest of the classes. I mean, just like the cleric video that you mentioned, the idea of like changing that rainbow ability for that AoE heal that you saw in the Alpha 1 to like a storm cloud, just visually that feels really good for like the shaman. Like I come from, I was born and raised in Arizona, so I've been exposed to like Native American Southwestern culture. I love it. There's a lot of really cool nuance to that. And, World of Warcraft posting up totems, it looks cool. And, occasionally casting some lightning bolts, it doesn't quite capture that medicine man shaman of like in tune with Mother Earth as much as I personally would like, just from my exposure to it. So just theory crafting that was a lot of fun. I mean, just summoning a thunderstorm and then you can interact with that thunderstorm, that just sounds really fun to me as a play style. Especially, I personally love summoner classes. I love pets. I love interacting with pets. Probably the number one game that I've put time into is Diablo 2 and the Necromancer, and just all the different ways that you can kind of play that just is a lot of fun. I still play D2R just because it's there. There's like an endless amount of play loops that you can build as you kind of progress and get different gear items within that game. So it's a lot of fun. Right. So the Summoner for sure. Plus, that's just kind of something that I got a lot of history playing. Like DC Universe Online is probably the second biggest MMO that I've put a lot of time into, and I was the gadget controller before that game got metagamed into just being a mana battery. But just kind of playing with a couple pets here and there. That's my play style. So
nice.
What about you guys? I know, Veritech, you said you were a big tank. Chibi, what about you?
I tend to lean heals or support.
going to be
She's
easy
gonna be a
making routes
resident-
for you guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely. She's going to be a resident cleric bard.
probably. Yeah.
That's my prediction.
You think so?
I think you'll probably find a happy place with cleric bards. It's mostly healing and then a bunch of buffs and
Yeah.
be able to just run around and throw things on people and dance around and sing songs and buff everyone.
Yeah.
Especially if they hit those class fantasies. Like the bard is something that they could bring like a whole new play experience that a lot of the bigger MMOs really haven't touched on. Especially because in some of my videos, like when I'm applying the bard, I specifically don't just think like songs and music and instruments. I think performance. So like when you're looking at something like the Argent, like someone that's like a battle cry, like Mel Gibson, you know, every character that he is in any of his movies, like The Patriot or Braveheart, he's an Argent. He's out there, you know, doing the battle cries, and adding that to the different play styles, just, you know, it gives a different feel. So I love everything that they've said about the bard, and specifically that they always like touching in performance as the flavor for what they're trying to get.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and Donver, it's funny you say that, because we're starting to get a backlog of our older podcasts that we recorded, edited out, and ready to upload over to YouTube. We're currently a lot of episodes behind, so we want to get a good stockpile up so we can upload multiple in a week and just keep pumping them out. And I think one of the first ones going out is going to be Bardic Inspiration. That's the actual title of it, so...
Yep.
Super cool.
Had good old buddy Bardic on here.
As we mentioned, we really do enjoy pulling in usernames as part of the title. So if that isn't proof that we've been doing that for a while, I don't know what is.
But yeah, we've talked a bunch about different classes and whatnot. And I know as far as tank goes, you mentioned summoner. I'm really curious to see what a tank summoner would be like. Like
I think that's it's called the keeper.
Field and stuns. Yeah, yeah, controls and stuns and whatnot. And like in the Apocalypse, how there is that big red wall that would pop up. I can just see that being little creatures reaching up to grab people that come near it.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. Little
creatures of the deep is kind of the class fantasy that kind of pops in my brain. So like little bog creatures, like Swamp Man. I don't know. that sort of flavor would be really cool to have, especially with that ability that you just mentioned. That would look really cool to kind of just like ooze up out of the ground. That would look awesome.
Heck yeah.
I agree.
I like the idea. So with you and Ashes, what really was the big trigger pull, so to say, that, you know, because everybody when they first see Ashes and they get into some of the details, like, oh, this can't be, and this is, it's another one, and meh. But then what was that one thing that tipped you over the edge and said, okay, I'll bite, I'll jump for this?
Two things. Number one would definitely be Steven, and just kind of his passion for the project, his passion for MMOs. Just what he says and what he wants to do is a far cry difference from all the AAA studios. So that's number one. But number two, and probably the most important, and this is actually what kind of sparked me wanting to finally take the deep dive and like try making a YouTube channel and make that a really cool thing for me to do in my spare time, was the ambition of this project is light years above what the competition's really doing. They're going to be trying some different things that really are going to set not just new bars within MMOs, but I think new bars in gaming altogether. And it's got me really hyped. I remember watching Asmongold's stream when he was watching the Lazy Peon video, and I remember McConnell was just all over the like, it's too much, and I'm like, no, that's what we need. We need people to, you know, dream big so we can live big fantasies and live these like really cool games. So that's really I think I use that word in a few of my videos, but that ambition is what's going to drive the success of the project. And I think you see that every time they come out with something new, especially this year, like the weather systems. Like that's something that's going to be a very big like immersion gameplay experience that you don't get in other MMOs, and that they haven't even reached Alpha 2 yet, and they're already getting those things going.
Right. So, from what it sounds like, you're kind of like pro bigger people getting involved and getting the hype up versus a lot of the people that were very apprehensive about it.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the more eyes on the project just means more people playing the game.
Right.
And
or
that's
more people
ultimately
backing
where the
it,
sex.
kind of. Yeah, exactly. So what are your feelings then, not to get like political within the sphere, but bigger streamers having their own servers, like as a streamer takeover, for example, Asmongold with how big he is, inevitably there's going to be a lot of people joining his server to try to play with him. So what are your thoughts on that? And would that to you just throw off balance?
It's going to be a different play experience, which I think is part of the heart of Ashes of Creation's design philosophy. Is they don't want any server, like any two servers, to be the same. The map's going to be evolving differently. Keep the baldies. Okay, Captain. I mean, I don't plan on being on his server.
Says the bald man, right? Exactly. Says the bald man. I was like, didn't you?
But it makes for good Twitch viewership, having those populations. And I think that sort of exposure to the game is only going to be beneficial. And just overall, you're going to see, like I said, those different play experiences server to server. And I'm really curious to see how deep they make the node system, because that's going to be the lifeblood of the game long term. So.
I see like a large section of people, like for example, on Asmongold's primary server, where like they get to a point where they just have to have inner conflict with each other in order to keep progressing. And so that sounds interesting in and of itself. I'm
ready for like his guilds, because I'm sure there's going to be multiple to implode from time to time. I mean, it kind of happened with his guilds in Classic WoW. I don't know if you watched his play experience through that, but
Aberrat, thank you so very much.
Aberrat, always far too kind. Thank you, friend. Greatly appreciate you stopping by.
I definitely agree. Welcome in, Obi Wanton, Radioactive, Ichiani? I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that one. Rive, welcome in. And High Kick, welcome in. Cece was too good to pass up the Asmongold lookalike. Right. Oh my gosh. Also, the when Steven was sharing the character creator, and they're like, who does that one look like?
The second it popped up, I was just like, well, Asmon's already in the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that was a really cool moment, because I was like, man, like I wasn't really too sure on what race I wanted to be. I always try and, actually have a fantasy reason behind my race, but this might be one of the first time that I'm like really like I'm gonna try and make myself in the game. And that's not something that I've typically done, but we'll see. I was really impressed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, I do that more in the personality department than anything, most of the time. Sometimes I make a character and I'm like, this one's just gonna be a human. If it's gonna be a human, it's gonna be me. But if it's not a human, then I just go with, okay, well, this one's going to be a mean person, so make it look angry.
Make it look angry.
Make it look angry. This one needs to look thoughtful. So
Vertex over here making D&D NPCs with backstories and all this stuff.
I mean, with the stuff that you're going to be able to do with like freeholds and stuff, you might have a lot of time to do that.
Yeah,
I know I've been using the D&D maker to ready up some stuff for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Donver, congrats on the new house.
Ooh, sorry. Yeah, congrats. No worries about spending on subs here, Donver. We appreciate people just stopping by and hanging out with us. So you stop by and you chat in the little chat there and give us something to talk about, then that's just good enough for us. So,
especially we can design our NPCs on the freehold. Yes.
So what's this? I was shown an image that was created. What's the story on this thing here?
It's the thing behind you that you posted on Twitter.
It's up on my board.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at this neat little thing. I like it. I
love it.
It means enlightenment. It's a glorious little feather. We'll have to try and use that one.
Oh my gosh.
Snip it out and plaster it somewhere.
I had an idea, but yeah, I think you maybe think in the same brainwaves as me, but I'll DM you later about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Private talks.
Yeah.
It's a secret.
I'm happy you guys like it.
Yeah, we love it. Thank you.
Love it.
And the little sparkles to try to make it all like shiny gold. I loved it.
In chat, I am no artist. I have never claimed to be an artist. Stick figures has been my name of the game, so I went all out in trying to make a feather. So I hope you guys like it too.
Stick figures for the win, honestly. Theater elf, thank you.
But yeah, I can even mess up a stick figure. Tell you what, I don't even know what they come out looking like, but it's not at all what I imagined for the most simple of creatures.
I wonder if I can type as the bot. Yeah, I'm going to try
train? This. Oh no, oh my goodness, there is a train close, isn't it? Oh man.
Sorry.
Peter Elf trying to be a conductor again.
Bumping my stuff. It's all good.
I appreciate that, Captain. Hopefully, eventually, I just got the approval to do the evil mastermind like super mustache. So that's my next project.
Oh goodness, you're gonna get the super waxed out super curl one.
Yes.
Awesome.
So we'll see how that goes.
Pixar didn't happen. Well, I guess you do video content, so I guess it'll happen. We'll see.
Eventually.
Sorry, I got excited because I can send emotes as the bot, so now I can update the alert when somebody does things with the actual emotes.
Ooh. Hey. I didn't know that was a thing.
Me neither.
Awesome. And now we know. Okay, so just the cheer, not the cheers. The cheers, I think, is for subscribers specifically. Oh, okay, yeah, subs only.
But that's fine. Only. I can at least do the mug. So.
Hey,
welcome
thank
in,
you there,
Thank
Redbeard. Mucho apreciado. And congrats, Revan2699.
Yes.
So, we had a collection of interesting topics that we dug around and found.
Mm-hmm.
One of them I figure might be a good warm-up here, because it does fit more of the fantasy aspect and the creativity, and that is there's a post on Reddit about family crests and coat of arms and such like that. Mm-hmm. What would you imagine yours to be? Let's say you're the first character that comes to mind that you're gonna create in game.
I mean, I'm very hopeful that I can have a actual pirate fantasy in this game, especially since naval combat's going to be a thing in some way, shape, or form. And just, I don't know if you saw my video. It's one of my favorite videos that I've done because it came directly organically through my comment section. I theory crafted how we could make a necromancer pirate captain within the game using the different systems. So like using animal husbandry, using the shipbuilding. So you make your ghost pirate ship, which they've already made one of those. So I know there's going to be multiple versions of that, but maybe you can use the animal husbandry system in some manner. It is a fantasy game, to make like ghostly representations of the different races in the world, and somehow they get a hat on there, so I can be a pirate captain on my ship, and I have my own like undead ghostly crew. So the family crest would most likely for that character be something very golden age of piracy themed. Mm-hmm. So the Edward Teach skull and bones in some manner, maybe like an undead kraken, try and make that inside the family crest. I think that would be really cool. For me personally, just coming from being a born and raised Phoenician, the phoenix mythology is my favorite mythos bird. So I know that's the calling card mascot for the game. So it might be around that, but also the Thunderbird is a really cool one down in the Southwest. I don't know if you've ever researched the giant Thunderbirds, but they are very cool. So that might be incorporated. And then just color wise, like my main theme colors are purple and orange because of the Phoenix Suns, but the Phoenix Suns colors are based off of the amazing Arizona sunsets and how just immaculate like a painting they are. So those would be the family crest colors, would be my purple and orange sunset colors.
Nice.
Yeah, the only Thunderbird I've ever seen really or paid much attention to is the like see the Native American totems with the big Thunderbird.
Yep.
Little wings up at the top. Okay.
That's the one.
Just making sure I was thinking of the right thing. Awesome.
Like
what about you guys?
Oh man, I haven't even thought about that stuff yet.
Well, let's see. Mine, I know that there would have to be some form of solidarity shown on there. Like you've seen, or I've seen at least, some old school family crests. It'll have things like stone walls and things like that. Very, very substantive and firm, and protective of one's kin and family, community, and such like that. Because I mean, that's just the spirit of a tank, right? There has to be purple in there. That's a guaranteed, because that's my color. It's purple. Probably silver in there for the metallic, any kind of metallic notations in there. Not a big fan of gold. Besides, silver goes with purple better anyway. There would be, because my main character that's going to be going in first and foremost is going to be a Vec. So there's going to be some form of astrology in there built into it. So probably something more like a field of stars with a very, and I don't know enough about the Vec history or the Varan constellations to really pick on something specific, but it would end up being something very important to journeys and returning home safely, because that's kind of the core of what we're doing, and the core of also protection of others is making sure people return home safely. So
yeah,
that's amazing. I can see that. That's super cool.
You really thought about that.
a little bit.
just a skosh.
I'm just gonna pull from what I'm planning on my character. I know it's gonna be green for healing, and also for nature. I know that though there's going to be, I plan to go Pyre, so I plan to incorporate. I know the Pyre are after a specific culture, but I love the. Thank you, Captain Redbeard. You're so sweet.
Redbeard. Thank you so much.
Welcome in, Donver.
She's saving it at the last second, I think. I didn't pay too much attention to the timer.
Yeah. Goodness. I know that I wanted to have like a tree sort of element in there. I loved the tree house they had, I believe, for the Pyre, where it was like cherry blossomish. So I would be okay with something like that. And I also don't really do too much on the gold side. I prefer silver myself as well. And let's see. For me, it'd be more like healing, and because elves live a really long time, like a passage of time kind of thing. Like a time is just a stasis, but healing is something that we often do to others to make sure that they're okay. But there's a dark side with ashes when it comes to healing, because in order to heal someone, you have to take their health. So I figured that could probably be brought into it a little bit. And I just don't know beyond that, because I haven't even started thinking about this stuff.
There you go.
But yeah.
You could almost have like a tree on there to represent like the elven nature portion, and then like kind of a cycle on it showing from like life to dying to life on the other side. Maybe
Yeah, the
color
two
in the background too.
The two imageries that popped in my brain when you were describing that was an oak tree that had like a raven kind of on one of its, like on one side. So maybe like there's like floral and like tree, like that stuff on one side, and then the other side's a little more bare. So it's got the seasons, it's got time,
Yeah.
Some really cool things that you can do with this, especially with the Pyre.
Yeah.
that the horns, that the whole culture that they've really nailed is just really cool. So
Yeah. Sorry, I just look over to, I was happy to hit you. Wait, what? But yeah, no, I imagined probably something like that. And like on the bear side, there'd be like the leaves kind of just like falling in the wind a little bit away from the tree. But I also just love cherry blossom, so it works.
It does.
Yeah, exactly. So many things that you can do. Welcome in, Wolfie. And Bahusafu. Pyre nodes are going to be the best thing in Ashes. I will find you, Overthrow, and I will live wherever you are, because if you are pro Pyre, if we stick together, maybe we can find more Pyre people and we'll make them be Pyre oriented. So, yeah. And
my impression from just lurking on the forums and the Discord is there's going to be a lot of dwarves.
Yeah.
That's my impression right now. The Dunir seem to be all over the place. So
Dunir.
The dwarven fans are very outspoken.
Indeed.
You know there's going to be a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, by the way, welcome Bahusafu. I was going to say hi earlier, but our guest was talking. I didn't want to be rude.
Dwarves like are just loud. It seems like there are a lot.
I mean, that's fair enough too.
The louder things. Oh my gosh.
Also with dwarves being loud. Yeah, it's you hear them, you just don't see them until you look down. So yeah, it seems like there's a lot, because there probably are a lot. You just got to look down to see them, especially if you're a Vec. I mean, I guess you're kind of gangly down, but a little taller, especially like the Renkai, the big beefy boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're gonna definitely be looking down. They're gonna have like kneecap height dwarves to just scoot out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gruntag, Renkai are gonna be monsters. Gonna be monsters.
Renkai with the dragon.
Yes. Yeah, I loved the Scales Dragon-born like influences that they had with that. That made me very happy to see. So.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see where that goes, because the hinting about that is interesting, but I'm curious how deep the story is going to go and where they're going to go with it, in the actual because there's going to be like racial quest lines. So, following the racial quest line, how deep that narrative goes outside of just putting books out there.
Sorry, I wanted to let you know that we were cheered 50 for me Matt curly mustache emotes, please.
Eventually.
We'll see what we can do. We gotta do something. I don't even know how we unlock more slots.
I will go look that up and I'll let you guys know in just a second.
Yeah, we'll need to unlock more slots then, because I know we're just about at max and we already have plans for what those are going to be. We just gotta wait till we get the monies. Wait for the monies. Which, if they keep this stuff going like it is today, maybe they'll build up the money right now. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
But all right. So the crests are established. I expect them to be fully polished and put into place by launch.
Yes.
So now the other thing that I thought might fall kind of in your alley as far as like character fantasy and and someone mentions the name and thus she appears. We have a Wizzy. Happy Friday Wizzy. Indeed. She heard the dwarven talking in the back of her mind. Her nose started twitching. But I was goofing on it in the notes and said make weapons bland again, aka strong weapons in real life don't really look that fancy. The fancier they look, probably the more delicate they are.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about most games making the bigger, better, more badass weapons being the most fanciful and highly decorated?
I'm personally a fan. When I come to a fantasy world, I'm fine with those sort of things. I understand some people like the immersion of trying to lo-fi or low fantasy some of the stuff, but I'm more of a fan of the high fantasy. I like the big bulky weapons. I like cool looking things. that's just kind of flashy, especially when you're looking at like little pixels and you're watching other characters like run around. I want to kind of see, some unique stuff and see their flavor and their flair and what they think is really cool and unique. I know like anytime at like Intrepid kind of does on their social media stuff about weapons, I'm always like, I want my big Grim Reaper scythe. I need that. I need that in my life. I want my necromancer to look really cool and look like he's, got a bit of death in him. So like there's a time and place for both of them. That's why transmog has always been a popular thing for me. Mm-hmm. Even though I've had some theory crafting ideas of leaving weapons, specifically like legendary weapons, out of the transmog, just so you can kind of see it on the battlefield and what they're doing. But it all comes down on that to like what actually makes legendary weapons different from everything else, especially since they do have a cash shop in the game. So for me personally, I like the cool looking stuff. And then if you can incorporate kind of those basic things into your transmogs, making them look really cool, I think that would be really awesome as well. Especially when it, like we touched on earlier, like the taverns and your NPCs that you can kind of design. I think those like little touches would make like a squire, if you have a squire, like blacksmith, and he's got his own like little sting blade and it's, not ornate and not like super crazy, but it's basic. I think that would add a lot of flavor to those things, especially in the RP world. So it's going to be big for RP specifically. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys do any RP, but I imagine they would love to see that.
I love RP. I really do.
I do light RP. I get into it for a quick few minutes and then I just slip back into just being me.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Play the character up for a little bit for like a quick, interaction or whatnot, and then it's back to, all right, so we climbing stuff or what?
Right.
I gotta go explore some things or something. I gotta find something. Let's go.
Yeah. I'm glad.
Maybe that'll just be a built-in thing to all my characters. Sorry, I didn't mean to stomp all over you.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
I'm glad you're doing well, Theater. I'm sorry that your son and his family got COVID, but I hope that they have a speedy recovery. Yeah, I'm sorry, Pakusafu. I have a friend that has COVID, and yeah, the exhaustion is just hard. Oof. Mm-hmm. But if I could, I would just do the wine tasting every day to see if I, could taste again. COVID check.
There you go. Cup check? No, not yet.
Check. No. Well, if I can't have this, let's see how far I can go down the spicy limit before I feel something.
There you go. Start conditioning your taste buds for spicy food.
Yeah, that's fair. That's what one of my friends did. She didn't like spicy food, so when she couldn't taste anything, she just had spicy food. Like, why not?
It reminds me of, what was it, iZombie?
Yeah.
I think that was the name of the show, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where they have no taste of anything, so they just dump hot sauce on all the food.
Yeah. I can feel my tongue still, just not taste. So like I can feel tingly spices, but not taste them. Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting. I was always wondering how that worked. But,
all right, then here you go.
Sorry.
By the way, folks, I forgot to put out the link for the coat of arms. So let me drop that out here too.
By the way, I looked it up while he's sharing that, and in order for us to get more subscriber or follower slots for emotes, we would need to hit partner. So we've kind of maxed out where we are at the moment.
Okay, so we're aiming for the end of the year then. Got it.
Oh, God. I mean, if you think we can.
Never know.
True.
The all depends on the content cadence that Steven decides. Because I predict some pretty big things coming around December. So that's my prediction for big announcements. Yes.
Fingers crossed. I know we've got some stuff we're working on that should be coming to fruition before the end of the year. And hopefully that's gonna drive up some viewership and some hours streamed for us as well.
Indeed. We have big changes that we're planning, and we're excited to share them with you when they're ready.
Yes.
But in the meantime, please join our Discord. Tell us whose emotes, and we'll respectfully ask if we can steal them from them that you would like to see on our show. So if you want a meme at curly mustache, do you have a curly mustache emote?
No, I don't.
Okay. So then we could work with me, Matt, on making a curly me, Matt mustache emote.
There we go.
Dance off on the golden feather.
I must ask you a question.
I cannot dance, Gruntag. I'm so sorry.
Everyone can dance.
And
we have dance offs once we get into the game and they have the dance emotes.
There you go. That's when I'll do that.
I have to have a big like dance off competition.
Right.
There we
gosh.
go. There we go. Oh my goodness.
Make a simi emote. Yes, that's another one we plan on doing. But if you join our Discord and you submit a request or an idea, that'll help me because I will probably forget these unintentionally.
It's going to be a big glowy dome with a hammer reflection on it.
Indeed.
It's amazing.
So, and now for the serious question.
Bum, bum, bum.
Somebody else had a conversation on Reddit asking,
Sorry.
basically, bum, 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 in minion voice and everything.
I can't help it. I'm sorry.
No, you can't. You actually dressed like a minion the other day and didn't even realize it. Had overalls and a yellow shirt. I was like, you look like a minion. No, I don't. You dressed like one. No, I didn't. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
But so someone on Reddit basically asked the question because they put a little bit more detail into it. But the short version is, do you trust Intrepid developers? Why do you trust them? And basically, how do you keep that trust alive? Like, how do you keep trusting them after so much time?
I definitely trust them. Just with the update cadence that they've maintained and the update quality that they've maintained since the Alpha 1. Because I know the public feedback that they received from the Alpha 1 was not quite what they were anticipating or ready for. Just because, I mean, you can say it's a true Alpha 1 so many times and it's always going to fall on deaf ears. People were expecting a little bit more, even though I was extremely impressed with what they brought as far as a true Alpha 1. It was pretty amazing. And then seeing how far they've come. I mean, this is kind of a funny question because this is the video that I'm designing for next week, is just kind of recapping everything that's happened since the Unreal Engine 5 reveal, and just the level of quality every single time they come in. I always want more. I'm always going to want more. I know Steven made his big money via marketing, so he knows what he's doing as far as the little tidbits that he's showing, and just kind of knowing that cadence of what he's what he's doing, what he's showcasing, the little bits that he's showcasing is for sure there's a lot more going behind the scenes. And you can always pick out little things that you hear, like one of the developers say, or something that Steven accidentally says, that there's a lot more going on, or just like when they did the basic weapons reveal, like they had 2 skills from the Weapon Master, and that was the Weapon Master, not just a fighter. So that tells me they have a lot built for not just the archetype skill trees, but they're actively building those augment systems stuff that's going to come. So just how much they've improved. I think you guys showed one of the videos on one of your last podcasts, just the evolution from that like mage that was running around throwing fireballs and teleporting around from their early videos to what they revealed in the basic attacks video. And it's extremely impressive how light years farther along they are. So as far as maintaining that trust is, as long as they stick true to what they've been doing, I'm going to be fully aboard. One thing I know, that Vladis Gaming mentioned this on a podcast that I'm also on, the Burning Discussion, and he mentioned they've maintained their like vision every step of the way. They haven't shifted gears from what they've wanted to do. They haven't added to it. They haven't subtracted from it. All the stuff that they announced way back when, they're sticking to it, and they're showing those like little nuances and hitting them every single update. And that's probably like, that was a big like light bulb for me when he said that, because that's 100% true. Mm-hmm. And the scope of the project hasn't changed. I mean, it's a very ambitious project, as we said, but they keep nailing it. So just that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think sorry, my brain is trying to go 3 different directions at once, so I had to pause it. The video comparison, I'm just gonna pop this back out there. This was by Cat Snevians. And I agree, they did a wonderful job of just showing the diverse difference between Mage in 2017 and now. But also really enjoyed the whole Discord spills from who is it? Alluring Secrets.
Yeah. Real quick on this before we move on to the next one now.
Okay.
Yeah, you got Aberrat. Trusting them with and for is the basic question of the Reddit post was about it going for so long without an actual launch, and they feel that people are generally supportive about the game and they'll definitely downvote it. They were kind of hesitant, but comparing it to as they called it, Scam Citizen, because it's been 5 years ago and it's still not playable, so to say, but I mean, it is to a degree playable. It's just not a finished product.
Right. And
so they were kind of wondering why people are finding it easy to trust the developers, that they're going to deliver a product in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one thing to kind of, I don't mean to cut you off, but one thing to kind of add to that, a lot of people, and like I see it in my comment sections anytime I'm got way too much hopium going, they like dragging me back down to the copium, is that everything they're showing us is stuff that you will never see from a AAA studio. We are watching stages that they don't advertise. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people that have been backing the game understand, is that we're not looking at a game that's going to be coming out, in the next year or two. Mm-hmm. And when they first started their Kickstarter, everyone knew that it takes, like 8-9 years to really polish and make an MMO, especially from the ground up. And the second you kind of understand that, and then you see where we are in the timeline, like you just, that type of like scam worry just kind of alleviates from my shoulders. And I'm fine with them, selling packs every single month and shifting them up, and those are going to be the NPCs in the world. I'm cool with all that, because you can see the fruits of their labor every single month. And it's a really smart thing that they did by doing these monthly updates, showcasing as much cool stuff as they can. Because I know I've discussed multiple times, I'm like, I would be really fine with like a blackboard, like crazy mad scientist, just show me design stuff on like a piece of paper, show me a PowerPoint presentation. I'd be fine with that. But the general public, they want to see stuff in the game. So I understand that when they want to show us something, they want to show us in game. And at the end of the day, that's what they're developing. So once you kind of understand the cadence of making a game, you kind of get a better idea of where they're at. And that's what I always lend out to those individuals that have those concerns, is just what we're seeing is not something you see from a AAA studio. AAA studios might come at you with a beta, but it's more of a marketing beta. The game's already in a state where they're ready to release it. versus whether it should be released or not is a different topic altogether. But we're watching stuff that you never get to see. And I think that's another really cool and special thing about Ashes of Creation is being a part of this process and watching it unfold is just really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
to rapid fire. Oh, go ahead.
What I was trying to say initially was that the cool things are things like what Alluring put out on Reddit, which are the things that you don't see on the live stream. But I wanted to go ahead and highlight a few things that you guys are saying. Like Overthrow says that the development live streams make it easier to trust Intrepid. Is clearly not vaporware and everything seems to be proceeding along just fine. I think most criticism comes from impatient people who don't understand why a game like Ashes may take twice as long to release as a rushed MMO that fails 60 days after launch. And the important part there is they are trying to not rush so that you have a good product. You can tell when they kind of like hesitate, but they still push back when something's not quite ready. So that to me tells me that they are intent on making sure that the product looks the way that they want it to look before they show it to you as like, this is the thing. And I definitely get where Aegon's coming from and like saying, I don't trust any developer until I see the finished product. But I trust Ashes and Steven because, well, one, he's totally funded this game himself, right? And for two, even when they have adverse conditions, like when all of the servers go crazy, they still push through. They still try to find those solutions. They make their own tools. They try to figure out what to do. It takes longer, but it takes longer to make the end goal faster because I believe, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, they were creating a tool that allowed them to kind of randomize things about a core item in terms of art. So like maybe there's a core part of the creature, but then you can randomize pieces of it to make it diverse throughout the world. Things like that. And Ashes and Air says, I trust Intrepid wants to deliver a good game, which I agree with, and that they will do their best to do so. However, there are also things where I get a little apprehensive, which makes sense, mostly around the cash shop and the cosmetics, how we don't know about the freehold skins still. And I worry they'll keep doing the monthly FOMO stuff after the release as well. And I definitely hear that as well. I feel that because there are times when Vertek and I are like, oh, you know what would have been great is if I could have gotten that thing, you know? And I don't know what is in store with the cash shop, quote unquote, the cosmetic shop and bundles, if you will, because right now that's the way people can get their keys. And it's a little bit more of a perk of getting a key, right? Because you're like, cool, I get this key, I get some cosmetics, I get some cool stuff with this. Like, it's not just, I'm paying all of this for just a key. And so for people like Vertek and I, we'd be like, yeah, I'd jump in on that because I get a cosmetic with it. Like that sounds good to me, you know? But I don't know where that lands when we're live with the game and it's not in development anymore. Maybe that'll change because I feel like the purpose of it is to help keep funding things for Intrepid. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a really good insight. And especially like I actually scrapped this type of video a couple months ago, is looking at the cash shop from a future standpoint, because most like subscription based stuff, the subscription's there to fund the servers and continual development of the game. That's generally what it's there for. And when you look at like free to play games and stuff like that, the cash shop exists there as their means of kind of getting those funds and using those funds to continue to develop the game, because MMOs don't stop development and don't stop having bugs and don't stop having little content cadence and content drops and stuff like that. So that all takes kind of funding. And historically, that's what the sub fee was going to be. And the sub fee is going to be present for Ashes of Creation. That's the model that they chose. So it asks the question, like, what is the cash shop really going to go to funding, and what is it going to be really used? Are they double downing on that means of trying to get funding for the continual development of the game? Because the way I was going to kind of frame it inside my video was when you release like a AAA game, or scratch that, let me go back. When you release a movie, I have a history of kind of working very low levels, like entry level, like internship levels in the film industry. But their cadence for making money on their product is to make their return of what they invested into the movie on that opening weekend. If they make their money back that opening weekend, it was a success. If they make more than that, it was a really good success. If they make a whole lot more of that, you're going to see a sequel come out. Those sort of things. And then all the other funds of like DVDs and streaming and all of those things are just kind of icing on the cake after the fact to kind of just put that little cherry on top. And that's why when you see movies like the Green Lantern, like super flop, you don't see any more Green Lantern movies talked about, let alone like even like mentioned on any type of forums anymore than the people like, we want Green Lantern. Well, you should have gone to see the terrible movie they made. So for like a video game, like there's a certain line, especially if your sales are subscription based, where it's like, what's the cadence of how long we need to retain X amount of subscribers before we make all our return back, and then everything else is money on top of that. And that's the financial stuff that they're going to kind of look into. I know for a fact that's the financial stuff that Steven looks at quite often, because it's his money that he's invested into the game, and he's the one taking the biggest risk, and he's the one that's going to need to see the return on his investment, and then extra return on top of that to keep his dream alive and keep it going. Which, to kind of harken back to like the streamer question, like the larger communities, that's why I want them involved, because I want it to be a successful game long term. So like on top of like, if you're so kind of to round out the point, your subscription model is their box price, because there's no box price for the game. World of Warcraft had a box price, and when that game launched, it made its money back, I think, like almost a little over a year after it launched, from just box price sales. So then the subscription fees on top of that were, to run the servers and keep the content going and keep the development going, and then fund the next expansion, that sort of thing. So if you're going to use the subscription model to get your return, and then the cash shop is kind of there to kind of keep the development going, I think it's a pretty smart way of going about it, and removing that box price entry level point to gain more active users, more returning users, and then little bits of the cash shop to kind of help fund that. Because once you get your return, then you don't need the box price anymore, because that's how you're kind of juggling both of them. And hopefully, if there's a large amount of users paying for the game, they can use those funds to do expansions in the means of however they end up doing it. I know he's got some pretty big ambitious ideas about doing multiple expansions a year. I'm not sure if that's in line with the design philosophy of the Node system, but that's, for a discussion for much further down into Alpha 2. So
yeah.
I mean, honestly, in theory, that could totally be done with the way that they are building tools for automation of basically content creation. I mean, they're building tools to combine skills. They're building tools to just instantly manufacture a randomized node, and building all these different tools from the ground up. It's quite possible, because it also depends on what they consider and define as an expansion, right? So it very well could be the little mini patches that every game puts out, like every 6 months or so. They do a patch, then a major patch, and then a small patch, and then an expansion. Or some games like Final Fantasy even do more than that, to be honest. But each one could be, in theory, considered an expansion, because it is expanding the storyline, expanding the world, one or the other, or expanding gameplay by adding classes or creatures or objectives or something. But I just like the fact that the model being you pay $15 a month as a sub, which is actually probably less than what it used to be when subs first started for MMOs at like $10 a month. And nowadays $15 a month is actually, you know, probably a bargain in comparison. And anybody who buys cosmetics, like anybody who is okay with buying cosmetics, which they don't have to at all, there's no requirement for it, especially if the in-game stuff is going to look just as impressive. Over the course of 2 years, for every typical major expansion that any other game sees, they are going to fund multiple other people's worth of box costs. Because even if they spend like $10 a month on cosmetics because they just love cosmetics but they can't afford a lot, that's still, what, $120 a year? It's $240 in 2 years. That just covered at least, at a minimum, 3 people's box cost. And that's if it's $80 for a box like some people at Blizzard is doing. $80 for an expansion, which is ridiculous, but, you know, they do it. And at most, I think some games are selling X-Pack boxes for like $40. That's 6 people's boxes they just covered by spending $10 a month on like the tiniest of cosmetics, right? So those that wish to spend the money are funding it, and I like that. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Can we get on to the Discord scrolls?
Yeah.
Let me ship this. There we go. So, Alluring has put together a lot of Discord spills. Just from July, I believe. Or at least that's like the last time she's done a jump. But you can go ahead and look at what we're looking at. Yeah, it was a good post. Man, so many things. Is there anything that you guys are interested in the most?
Ooh. To be honest, like a lot of this stuff, if you just skim over it really quick, it doesn't seem like, oh my gosh, that's big. Oh my god. It's like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. But if you go back through and really look at stuff and really dig into what it could mean, there's actually a good bit of meat in here. As far as information. Like, the one thing, and I almost feel like a cheater for even calling this one out because I saw it, but then I also was looking around today for new topics to cover, right? And I bumped into Narc talking about the same thing as his first big point, and that was the mention of the nodes. And let me see if I can find the exact one here. Hold on. Mirror. There we are. Okay, so the question was, when do you think the team will have node perks and buildings mapped out for all 4 node types? I know it's early. We've just yet to see what military and divine nodes do or offer. Sorry, that was a mental tongue twister, I suppose. And his response was, those have been completed for a little while now and are still undergoing implementation and testing. So they already know what those nodes, what they want them to offer, what they want them to do. They're just making it function inside the game and test it and make sure it works. That's more than a lot of people really thought that they had progressed on the nodes. A lot of people were thinking that they're still kind of backburnering the node types and what they can offer because they haven't mentioned anything about it. They haven't been talking anything about it. But from the looks of it, it's more along the lines of they want to make sure that they get it put together, they get all the pieces together, they get it working, and they get that little Lego starship built before they start showing people their, Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, I think Overthrow said it best there. The nodes are the centerpiece of what Ashes is going to be built on. So I definitely think that's another reason why the reveal cadence has been slower with just even discussing it. But like you said there, like those have been completed a while now. They talk about implementations like taverns and different stuff that you can do in there. They bring up the summoners and pet interaction. And my takeaway from this would be every single one of those things that are mentioned in this little blurb are things that we haven't seen on their live streams. But for more or less, they're not just being worked on, but they're like being worked on in really good implementation like levels. Like they're not like maybe complete or maybe like even a further along than what we can anticipate. I definitely think they keep a lot to the chest with how much they actually completed. And I think just from a personality standpoint, I think Chibi, you mentioned earlier, they're always like hesitant to kind of like show their stuff. And then when they show it, it's like off the wall crazy.
Yeah.
That sort of humble mentality, I think it comes from how much their passion is for the project and their overall goals for the projects, and they haven't quite met them yet, but they're exceeding where they should be, and they don't really give themselves enough credit and enough pat on the back for it, which is good because that's going to keep them going. But it's a bummer because I want that content so I can talk about more stuff.
Yeah.
Craft more stuff. You know, I want to be in like a fly on the wall, especially in the class design angles. Like if they're actually building like pets already for the summoner, like I figured the summoner was going to be the last archetype they really touch because it's going to be the toughest to implement into, or I shouldn't say the toughest, but it's going to be the most time consuming to implement into an augment system for all the other archetypes. But just seeing them touch on summoners a lot more gets me really gassed for what's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, especially for how much of a project this is. And reading over that little just collection of things, I really enjoyed because someone was saying, hopefully we can finally fill that senior systems position. And Stephen was like, just because you see the position listed on the website for hiring doesn't mean that we don't have someone for that. Some of those positions require multiple people, and they have a systems and econ designers currently, but they're trying to hire more. And I think that is an important aspect because having a good number of people there means that you have multiple people working on the same thing, but different parts of the project. So things get done faster, especially with the load sharing. And I'm just really excited because getting that help means that, Intrepid can get a lot more done quicker. I'm still floored by the difference between when they first started with, I don't even know how many people, but I think it was less than 50 at least back in 2017. And now where they are, they're growing, and it's really wonderful just to watch the company. I mean, as a software engineer, I'm also like just geeking out, like watching this like small little indie game company growing. And I'm just like, because I had initially tried going into video game design art. And then I was like, I like engineering better. I'm going to leave and go do software. And I ended up in the dev section for websites instead, but it's still really cool to watch. And I have that aspect of knowledge of like, oh, right, I understand there's like these bugs and they have to like go through, and like that can take a while because if you change one thing, it might break another. And then like, it's been fun. But I did also really appreciate the Intrepid banners for the job fair. So.
And yeah, like Overthrow was saying there, I feel the summoner will be one of the earlier archetypes because they will need to discover pet AI issues early.
Yeah.
Yeah, Overthrow.
Actually.
That's a really good point, but then they also have the bard they'll need to get out there so they can test how their, almost fully support class is going to end up performing. There's a lot of pressure to do good on both of those, but yeah, pet AI stuff is probably going to be really tricky.
If you're interested sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're interested in the AI pet stuff, you should definitely check out the link that I put up there because Jalan was asking about summoners and 250v250. That's all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's about with the rendering. Yeah. But yeah, on the point of like the bards and the summoners, again, like this comes back to like that class fantasy, like the whole cadence of kind of designing the whole system to really nail all those little class deals, they have to nail the archetypes first. Because on the Burning discussion, one of the members, Creed, we were talking after one of the shows one time, and like we were talking about this point because I've talked about it ad nauseum. But he mentioned, he's like, for that type of cadence to kind of work with the way that you're designing it, or the way that you kind of theory craft it, you have to have specific unique things from all the archetypes, and they have to be like special to them in some manner to be able to implement those things into augments to add to the other classes. So that's the way that you can kind of get them. And bards and summoners, like, they're not your atypical like Holy Trinity members. So making them special and unique to the tried and true Holy Trinity is something that a lot of games have had trouble with. Like I mentioned, like DC Universe Online earlier, they added a fourth class. They added the controller class, which is the one that I played. And they were supposed to be the controller. They're supposed to be the CC class for like PvE encounters. But really what it came down to, the best CC available was just the tank holding threat and aggro on everything, turtling so everything's attacking the tank, and then the controllers are just pushing out as much mana as possible so everyone never runs out of mana. Just so they had a good intent on trying to change up the design by making the controllers that control-based stuff, but the realistic thing is that the content that they made didn't lend itself to that. So that's the big thing as far as like class design and class kits is they need to be robust and like really full and have a lot of different abilities for you to choose from and level into and have those like skill point cadences that you choose where to go. But the biggest thing is the content needs to be designed to allow those different specialties to really shine. You know, there needs to be moments where the tank has like big shiny moments. There needs to be moments and like encounters that the healer, you know, a specific way of healing, it might be better than other specific types of healing to allow those different play styles to shine. And that's really what I hope they lend themselves to with the classes and hitting those different class fantasies and making like the 8 archetype classes for healers all unique within each other, because as the player, you have access to those at any time that you want. You can change. And then you're changing based on the content you're going to, based on the group formation that you're doing. And now you're feeling more like a role-playing game versus you're just kind of like, that's my biggest reason I don't play Final Fantasy is everything's set in stone. And I don't want to go into a group formation game where everything's set in stone like that. I want to be able to mishmash. I want to have different abilities lend themselves to different groups and more of those RPG elements for group play and multiplayer play personally. And like the Final Fantasy stuff, that works great for games like the Batman Arkham series, where your role that you're playing is Batman, and then you're building your stuff to be the Batman that you want to be, and having those like specific way of the all the abilities are made works in that sort of style because you're by yourself. But
more like character customization with the skills rather than just character picking the most appropriate skill for that situation, but still has the same stuff as everyone no matter what.
Yep. And like to just kind of double down on that, like picking the different abilities and applying different augments, because the class augments aren't the only augments. There's the racial augments, the religious augments, the social organization augments, the different skills that you can pull from the weapon trees. There's a lot of different foundation for applying a very big permutation, to bring up the mathematics here. The permutations that type of system allows is really large. It's a big number. And that sort of big number lends itself to something like a PoE class tree, where there's a huge permutation of how you can kind of design the characters or your specific characters. But I feel like it's going to be much more meaningful and impactful for every skill point you put in there versus something like PoE, where it's like you get a couple percentage increase in this thing. You're putting it there because overall that's going to be better damage numbers for you later on. Like I foresee applying like a rogue augment, applying some sort of like stealth sort of thing, and then that changes up like your tank gameplay for more like dodging and stuff. And if I start rambling, just stop me. Yell at me. I can talk. I get that from my father, so I blame him for that.
It's all right.
Can I touch on one more thing with this thing before we move over to a different subject?
Oh yeah, there's tons to touch on here, so feel free to pick out something.
Tavern games. Because we're the Golden Feather Tavern. So, Glazy DPS meter enthusiast says, speaking of tavern gambling, does the house get a cut? And Steven says, tavern games between players will impose a rake dictated by the tavern's mayor. Brody then chimes in and says, would the tavern games cut be dictated by the tavern owners? And Steven says, the tavern owners dictate the table cost. The mayors dictate the taxes applied when money exchanges hands. When a player wants to engage in a game, they may sit at a table, and another player may sit down with them. At that point, the gameplay layer for the mini-game will open in a user interface window depending on the type of game. I wanted to share that.
So it looks like we'll be able to set the price of the games, and then just the node gets a cut of taxes. We get taxed. We get taxed. Which is fine. We're gonna have to have a whole lot of tables. I wonder how much it costs to get a bigger tavern.
Interesting.
Have a whole gaming room over on the side.
Right?
Very cool.
I feel like we have
a big scam.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just reading your chat.
I was gonna say it is already 8:30, so we have like a little bit of time left. Time just flies. Did you want to talk about dev discussion and one other thing?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so Mimat, let's give you the floor. There's looks like we have a couple things there. What do you think about talking about shields and active blocking, or character collision, or weather and seasons, and how predictable they should be?
Am I choosing one of those topics?
Yeah, which one are you most interested in?
Probably the seasons and weather out of those.
Okay. So there was the post on Reddit right here in reference to predictability of weather and seasons and how predictable you feel it should be. Should it be something that you can guarantee, or just randomly you're walking out and about and boom, thunderstorm and a tornado just runs away with your dog?
The way that they wrote the post, I agree with what they were saying. Seasons, I think, should be the predictable element. It's the thing that because it needs to be predictable so you can predict where resources are going to be once you learn that information. Because it dictates kind of the flow of traffic, without a better phrase for gatherers. But weather, I definitely want a major randomness to it. And because there's a lot that you can kind of tie to that. There's a lot of, it adds like an unpredictability to combat and how it affects the characters and where you are, what bosses that you're fighting. And it gives the players some agencies of things to kind of react to. And it could be in your benefit. It could also be in your in the negative. It could be a boon or a curse depending on how the stuff rolls. But also you might want to give the players some cadence to kind of interact and like manipulate the weather in a way. And I think they've said that they want this with like the divine nodes and stuff like that. So I'm really interested to see what they kind of have planned for the different like relic system that they're going to have, and how impactful those are going to be on the world and kind of summoning bosses or summoning different crazy stuff. There's a lot that they can do with that sort of system. So that would be my take.
Can you just imagine, oh, holy insert god here of divine node, we're about to be sieged, please change the weather in our favor. You get like a lightning storm.
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking something along those lines myself with that. Like, definitely seasons should be predictable. You should know when they're coming. Maybe have like a day or two flex on each side. so that it can be like, okay, winter's coming on the 15th. Oh crap, it's the 13th and it came early. Oh no. When's winter ending? It's going on so long this year. Yeah, well, Punxsutawney Phil, or the Varen equivalent, said that it's going to be winter for 3 more days, so we're stuck with it. Like that type of thing. Like a little bit of variance would be, I think, keep it interesting a little bit, make it feel a little bit more, I guess, real life.
Yeah.
Or like a little bit more immersive in it. Like you can know roundabout when it's going to end. But the interplay with the nodes, I think, could be super interesting. If you get your scientific node developed and say you can have the mayor invest some of the tax money into a particular building that researches weather and has more of a tight prediction on when seasons are coming and going, and if it's going to be raining or a super hot day in certain regions of its area of influence or whatever.
Don't we have
I think that would be really cool.
IRL where like the scientists can shoot something up into the sky and it can force a little bit of rain to happen?
I definitely believe they have some tech to do something similar to that.
I thought that'd be kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Have a good weatherman in BC.
Well, I was also thinking kind of what you were saying, like with the divine node being able to influence the weather by praying enough and praying hard enough to it. Maybe the military node might have a perk in there where they can develop some kind of combat gear that resist weather effects or what have you. And I don't know what the economic node would do. They'd go buy something, they'd buy a big old umbrella, I guess, maybe.
Just probably wouldn't have it. But yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of different like gameplay elements that you can kind of affect with that, especially when you give the control to the players. Like if you want to go raid like the magma dragon and it happens to be outside, and then you want to sit there and make it rain to kind of dampen the damage that the magma dragon does, or like a fire dragon, those sort of things. I mean, they could do it where a castle siege is coming, someone's going to be attacking your castle, and it's summer, but maybe you have the power to kind of manipulate it that when the castle siege is happening, you make it winter. Like you bring on a blizzard and all your guild mates are wearing like the gear that survives better in the snow, and then the attackers are wearing their summer gear, so now they're at a disadvantage. It adds a lot of cool nuance to the combat and the systems and stuff that you can do with those sort of things. So I'm really interested to see what they got in store for the relics. I know they've mentioned it a few times on their like the live streams and in there, so I'm hoping we see something soon.
Yeah, sorry, my brain just went to, we're gonna fight with everything we have to defend this node, including with the node itself. I'm gonna use this node against you.
The node rises against your forces. Prepare.
Prepare.
But
dev discussion next.
Yeah, hit that dev discussion and start the adioses and outros.
Yeah, that works. So they have a new dev discussion, new to me at least. I've been quite busy. I apologize. But the world of Vera is ever changing. Should our maps be too? And they have the newest one where it says, would you like to see a traditional MMO world map that, once explored, updates with the ever-changing state of the world? Or would you prefer to see more innovative ways of keeping maps up to date? If there's a cartography skill, I feel like that would come in handy.
Yeah, this one makes me curious because I'm not sure how many other ways there would be to keep maps up to date, because if you have a traditional MMO world map and once you explore it, it updates with ever-changing state of the world. So that could be literally anything. Like an expansion comes around, boom, there's a new island that appears that you didn't know was there before. Or like when WoW had it, there was a giant, a giant whirlpool out in the middle of the ocean of the map that basically just said something along the lines of like, Death Zone, don't go here. It had some weird name on it or nothing at all, I forget. I don't know. I just know it looked dangerous, so nobody ever went there. Also, they couldn't. But then when Cataclysm came around, it became a landmass, and the actual map also updated to show like the chasms that got created in the ground and all that. So that's still a form of updating the map when something changes, right? even though that was a little bit more wild than some traditional MMO maps that just add a continent and that's it. So I'm curious what the more innovative ways of keeping maps up to date would be that would go beyond that, where you're literally changing land masses to react to things that happened in the world.
I mean, just some things that kind of pop in my brain would be like summoning a giant volcano in the middle of the ocean to create your own island, that sort of thing. I think it would be something that's really cool, especially if the players can control it. You know, the server, that again lends itself to every server is different. Every server is going through something else. Like you mentioned before with like Cataclysm, that's something that I've speculated on in the past is kind of the best way. Like WoW had something special with Cataclysm. They just did it extremely poorly. You know, refreshing the old map is extremely important. And I think the node system automatically lends itself to that. So I don't think it's going to be quite an issue for Ashes of Creation long term. But just this dev post got me thinking about just a few different things like that volcano. You know, like if we could get together and summon a giant volcano in the middle of the ocean and make our own island, and all of a sudden like species, or if we can like summon like a Vec culture could summon like a giant like meteorite to come down, and you know what spawns from that. There's different ways that you could kind of implement it, and that's something that they can control. Like one thing that I've specifically have said a lot is I want Intrepid to really be my dungeon master for all these things, and have them be able to go in and like flip a switch and have cool things happen in the world, and not worry about the repercussions of you know, taking away like content or like shifting things, because that's kind of the nature of the project, in my opinion. So if they could do that and have some really cool events that happen and catastrophically change the world. I know Extermicide was really big on that on one of our previous podcasts. He wants like big catastrophic events that wipes out like certain mobs, and then those mobs never appear again. And I was just like, whoa, that's really ambitious. I like it, but I don't know. I'm scared. So I could see them doing a few different things.
Yeah, that's fair.
Real quick, just to verbally respond to Wolfie there. Yeah, the cosmetics have kind of been confirmed to not really impact each other outside of just viewing and kind of having a theme to each other. And what I mean by that is like the cosmetic packs. You don't need one to interact with another. It's just they're all visibly cosmetic. So the whistle would just be something you'd wear around your neck, and the wolf or a dog or whatever they called the creature, the big doggy mount, you would need a mount of a similar type, and you would just apply that skin right on top of it. So you have to earn that mount, and then you can wrap it with that cosmetic skin. Yeah. And none of them give any kind of actual in-game benefits.
I guess you could say it's more like a sock. I put the example of wrapping a card, but I guess you could say it's like a sock. You just have a sock in your hand, but until you put it on a foot, it doesn't matter. It just looks pretty, but you can't do anything with it.
But also, while you were talking, sorry, I just want to get this out or else I'll forget about it. While you were talking, it sprang to mind what I think they're mentioning and kind of cluing in on that. So here recently, I stumbled back on a conversation that I had with Nair a little bit ago, where he was asking for a link to where Steven mentioned and responded with a class with X/tank would be viable as a tank. It may not be a main tank, but would be viable as like an off tank or something like that. Would definitely not replace a tank primary with whatever secondary. And I was looking for it. One specific one that I know I saw because I got super excited about it, and Chibi may remember it because they specifically said yes, and tank secondary would be viable as a tank, but it would probably be just an off tank, not a main. And as I was looking through, I must have watched like 50 different live streams and podcasts and stuff. And the one thing I bumped into was he was talking about the scientific node and the library. And how that would work is as things were discovered, you'd come back and report the information, and then that information can expire after a certain amount of time. So what I think they're kind of hinting at is, instead of the traditional MMO map where you uncover the entire world and then it's permanently uncovered, and whenever something happens that changes that, you see that change because you've already uncovered that. But I think what they might be meaning with this is that as time goes on, that map would then refog back over, as I think maybe Nerd mentioned that too in chat here, with like the fog of war type of effect. And it would kind of recover itself back up until you get more information on that area again to make sure that it's the same thing or if it has changed. I think that's what they were kind of talking about.
Okay.
And I kind of
that
like
makes
that
sense.
idea.
Yeah, especially with their season system, like you could shift different parts of the world depending on the season and how it influences, and how you raise your node can influence how it's going to change the path. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff with that. So
Yeah.
I like that.
Also, what Wolfie just put in chat, I like that as well. But yeah, Ash's Nurse says, I think they're hinting at a sort of fog of war, keeping the node levels and such under cloud until players update the map through personal exploration or through maps from other players, which I like. But then Wolfie says, the fog of war would be really cool if you were in like the Riverlands and nice and sunny, but then somewhere an ice dragon spawns and then you could just get little flurries in the Riverlands to kind of tell you environmentally that something else happened somewhere, like potentially nearby, because I don't see them going very far, especially with the sunniness. But and then Overthrow saying, I do think the innovative system would be related to the science node for sure. I just hope that they make it somewhat natural and not too much of a chore. Like if you travel across the continent, you might visit the local science node first. I think that would be kind of cool. Also, can you imagine, like, I mean, I really don't want to say the old days, but like the old days when people would take road trips before we had GPSs that were very widely available. You would drive into that state, you would grab that state's map, and then you'd have a mapping of where to go. And I remember my grandmother teaching me how to do that when I was younger. It was just like a tiny little thing, but we didn't quite have GPSs like we do with the phones currently. But that would be something potentially too to increase the interesting or the purpose of a scientific node. Is you're traveling, you hit a scientific node that gives you information on the area based on whenever the last one was properly updated. So some parts might be expired, some parts might be new. It's a mixture, but you kind of have a little bit of a lay of the land as I hit my microphone.
Yeah, thwack. But yeah, it was Ashes of Near when they say, did they mean as in you get 3 days from now worth of updates on the map before you have to visit the library again, like a subscription service, or would it just be instant update? That second one there is what he was talking about. Is that information would be accurate for X amount of time and then it would expire, and it would have to be brought back. Somebody would have to report back to the scientific node, and I think even specifically to the library, to get that information recorded, and then the mapping system would update that. But how neat would it be if you could get a cartographer person to print you out a version of the map that they have, and it just stayed that way. It didn't change, it didn't decay, it just stayed exactly how it was at that moment that they scribbled it out. And you could, throughout time, fill up your bank on even an alt or whatever with just a series of maps as time goes by. Just to see how things kind of develop around certain areas, and how things develop just in the world in general that they were able to capture with the cartography system. And
you gave me an idea.
Yeah.
I think I want to take screenshots as of the map as like time goes by, so that I'll just like put those in a very specific area of like screenshots of the known area and stuff like that as we go, just to see like the progression of the map.
Yeah, I know I'm already going to end up doing that myself. I'll be taking screenshots of the map, but also I thought it would be really cool to find different like mountaintops and whatnot that you can climb up to and see a good portion of the land. And just every once in a while, like every couple of weeks or a month or so, just go up to the top of that, aim it in the same direction, snap a picture and toss it in the same folder. Just have the screenshot just time and dated, and that's it. Just a series of those, just time and date, same picture as time goes by, and just see as the landscape itself changes, and you can see nodes being built up and shrinking down all the way across the land.
Okay, I'm getting way too excited about this. The flip book, exactly.
Flip book, yep.
Yeah. Make a big old GIF of multiple mountaintops and their views. That'd be really cool.
Indeed.
Would enjoy this a lot.
Oh man, so many things. See, there's
So
reason
many
to be
things.
hyped about the game still. There's still reason to be hyped about the game. I promise.
Indeed. So yeah, this all circles right back. Like all this stuff that they're talking about and all the stuff they're doing. Like there's progress forward, and there's things that they are actually moving towards that you can see that they're moving towards it, and they're not in a rush, so it's not
Naval
released
things.
yet.
Yeah.
And even somebody said he's I think what was the name? Drawing a big old blank, but somebody came in earlier and mentioned Nara, you were talking to them about being a billionaire or a millionaire, multimillionaire,
Toxic.
making the game specifically for themselves or for himself. And even if that's the case, what more could you ask for out of, the creative director / owner, CEO, funder of the entire thing than I want this game to be perfect.
Yeah, it was toxic.
And I'm
Gabe.
not going to release it until then. Like that's the most you could possibly ask for out of a dev. So I think that's some of the big reasons to trust them and why I trust them.
Very well
But
said.
It is getting to be a little late.
Indeed.
So it's about time to do the wrap up. Me, Matt, would you like to say anything to the peoples? Let them know of any projects, places you might be, things you might be doing.
The videos that
so-
you
Kinda
mentioned
tea?
earlier.
Videos, like I mentioned before, I've been trying to establish my paying job so I can still pay for things in a better sense that I can do this a little bit more. And I have accomplished that. So start next week, going to be getting some videos from me, speculation, theory crafting, hopefully some fun like skits, dives into class fantasy. Going to be starting that up next week. The class fantasy one I'm really excited for. I actually have a really ambitious idea behind it that I might have to wait down the line as I get more tools to be able to do that. But look for me at YouTube. I am Matt. You'll find me Matt Ashes of Creation. You'll probably find my videos. I am on Twitter at Matt Online. That's a recent thing for me. So if you follow me, I'll probably be doing some goobery things, saying some goobery things because I'm new to the Twitterverse. But that's where you can find me. And then hopefully in the future, I'm going to be streaming. I've got to get some more tools before I can really commit to that. But that's where I'm going to be. And then I guess the other project that I would like to kind of plug, I'm also part of another podcast. Every Monday, we do the burning discussion. The boys over there are just some really cool dudes, and we have some really interesting conversations, and they keep me from talking too much. So definitely check that out. I love interacting with everyone that shows up to our shows there. So that's another place you can find me if you appreciate my mustache, as poor as it is. The ambition's there. It hasn't been realized yet. It will probably be realized when Ashes of Creation launches. So
Nice.
that's
Stop
me.
by, watch more, experience the growth
Exactly.
of beard and mustache, of course.
If you don't mind my asking, Matt, would you be interested in joining our Discord and then posting your videos in our little lovely community videos section?
100%. Yeah, we'll get that
Awesome.
done ASAP.
Yeah, because
Alright,
I've noticed Captain Redbeard has been doing that lately, and I was like, yes, more videos, because like y'all are just everywhere. But if you help us out and help other people find like one spot to find other people, would love that. So
Absolutely.
Mhm. And one thing I would like to mention is, I think the first video of yours I saw was that cleric one, and I watched a couple more since then. And I didn't know how else to try to reach out to you besides YouTube. But then the other day I stopped by Burning Discussion and I saw the healthy gaming video, which, by the way, everybody, please do give that a watch while it's still up. They haven't put it up on YouTube. I don't think Extremicide's put it up there yet. I didn't see it earlier today. But I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, but I kind of sat there and just kind of watched what was going on, and they had some pretty important like PSA type discussions going on. It was good stuff.
agree.
And I want to thank you, new friend, for stopping by and hanging out with us. It was really great
Thanks
discussions,
for having me.
really great talks, and
Our pleasure.
this totally could have gone on for a little while longer, but we got food to eat. It is
Yeah.
summoning us.
Yeah, it's dinner time for me. I know I'm on the opposite side compared to y'all, but you know, the sun stays up too long here. That's what I'm learning.
Yeah, ours
You
is
said-
almost gone.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it is.
But yeah, I'm not used to 10 p.m. The sun's still out, and you're like, well, I could go for a hike.
Right.
Sure, but
Yeah, about that.
No.
About that.
definitely thanks for having me on. I'm glad we were able to link up again. I had a really big blasty blast today, so I do appreciate you guys.
Oh, glad to have you. Glad to have you. And
Yeah, no
everybody else
problem.
in chat, everybody who stopped by and hung out with us and just tossed any kind of words in there to contribute to discussion and give us something to chitter chat about. We appreciate you. Appreciate every word you type and every moment that you spend here with us. Could have
Yeah.
been doing everything, who knows, theorycrafting on your own, making up your own post, but you were hanging out here while we talked about everybody else's.
Yep. We're grateful to have you and for all of your support. And as Vertex says, hopefully by the end of the year, I feel like that's very ambitious. We'll be partnered and we can have a curly matte mustache of our own.
Yeah, it's a big finger crossing there. Big finger crossing. We gotta wait
It's
and see
gonna
what
happen.
Ashes does and what our ambitions bring us.
Yeah.
Time will tell. Time will tell. But did you have anything else you wanted to close out with? No.
Me?
Yeah. You,
Nope.
Chibi?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys. Love seeing your chat and your opinions in the chat. Makes me happy.
Right. And with that, I do believe we're going to be heading over to the Redbeard because stopped in here and showed some love. And honestly, he has fewer viewers than the other friends on the Twitch right now. So we got to spread the love where it's needed most.
Indeed.
Thank you all for popping in. We'll see you next time.
See ya.